Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it is a great honor for me to give this speech. And I am very happy, really very happy that you could organize this event. And I hope we will maintain all the illusion to do more in the future. I wanted to share with you the motivations we had in fib for the organization of this conceptual design shortly, but it is very important for you to know how we are fib association and what we want. As our Secretary General David always say, we fib are a bridge between research and practice. And we really need to continue working on this, in this direction, because in the last years, the gap between practice and research increased every time a lot. But I think we have good traditions in fib to break this tendency. And this event is one of the good things, not only this event, we are using to break or to make different the relation between research and practice. fib is an association, very diverse. We meet people from different parts of the world. They are experts in different aspects. We have the obligation to talk each other and to get agreements. We don't produce any document without agreements, and really it's a good base to start having some attitude to face conceptual design, because conceptual design is a complex process, but you need really to have a very deep knowledge, not only in structures, also in many other fields. And this way of working allow us to get a lot of information for other experts which are not going to do a design, but we need to use all this information. So, and we are international. We would like to emphasize that our organization try to spread our findings all over the world, and we gain a lot in the last years in being international. I think this is another important thing, because we need only not to solve our problems, our local problems. We need to help other people with our experience to solve problems people have in other places. And this is part of the conceptual design too. We started working to integrate. I would like to emphasize integrate young people in our organization. We don't want to teach them only. We are teaching, but we don't want to do that only. We want to do more. We do want to take advantage of their skills. As you could see here, all young people were able to organize this great and fantastic event. And we need you, young people. We need you. You are the future. And we need also to create a new level of communication to be able to get our skills, to take advantage of our skills, your skills, you have a lot, but seniors' skills, which are also important to be integrated in this combination. We started working with young people in the academic field with this symposium, PhD symposium, This idea was created by Georgi Balast, Professor Balast, who is here with us. I think it was a splendid way to change the format of the communications we have in our congresses. We wanted to give the students more space to discuss between them and also with other academics. And this was the first activity we created more than 20 years ago. And a few years ago, we started to discuss to make something to involve practitioners, to involve people doing design. And we accepted in the Presidium, as Aurelio was explaining, the possibility to do a new event about conceptual design. And we wanted low cost, we wanted high level, we wanted a new format to exchange our experiences, to be closer each other, and we wanted to involve young people. We started doing that in Madrid, and I think was a good first experience. You see here, we probably have very good memories, but we will have very good memories of this event also. Thank you for the organization. And I am completely sure that we will make a big step forward in the preparation of these events. So we are in the right way. You have organized in with a different format, and I like that. We need to create every time. Every time is a possibility. Let me, for indication of Aurelio also, let me think or talk a little bit about the definition of conceptual design. You will see here different definitions of conceptual design. When we started preparing the conference in Madrid, we had the idea to ask the possible participants one definition of conceptual design. And we received more than 50. They were very good, as you could see. You were not able to read all. Now you have some of them on the screen. And they were very well, very good definitions. Conceptual design is not a unique process. It's a personal process. Each one has different ways to approximate to this process. For that reason, we have different definitions. But if you read carefully, you were not able to do that, but trust on me. If you read carefully, all the definitions are using one common word: creativity. Creativity. We are creative persons. We need really to use our creativity to do better. To do better. So I will go through some experiences in conceptual design to see the differences you can find. At least this is my opinion. But at the same time, the common factor, and the common factor always is creativity and deep knowledge. This is the easiest process when you design a bridge, because structural engineers were educated to design bridges. We like to design bridges, but it is, I think, a simpler process. You will see more complicated ones. This was a competition. We lost this competition. You always can have the possibility to learn from when you do a job, but you lose the competition, and the process is always the same. You need to collect information. You need to try to define the problem you want to solve in the better way. It is not always possible because you discover many constraints during the process of conceptual design. You need to be flexible to collect this information you are discovering in this process. But this is an important part young people many times try to do first. But first, we need to understand. This is the first step of conceptual design. And it is not easy because in many occasions, we don't have all the information. Later, you start a process, and in a bridge, this process have less interactions because you need to know the constraints, but at the same time, you have a lot of freedom to and you don't have you do that in a very compact group of people. And so you in this case, for example, it was very important due to the position of the river with respect to the road. It was very important to analyze the different possibilities for the abutments and the piers. And then you start making proposals. I am not going in detail, but this is a process, is a nice process because you really need to try and to think every time the integration of one problem to the previous one. And it is very, very important to know, to have a deep knowledge of the flow of forces you are designing for the structure you are designing, and you have to take into account the construction process also in this period. So it's a short period in which you need to satisfy a lot of conditions, and at the same time you need to go back and rethink different proposals you have made in order to finally decide the proposal you are going to give. And when you arrive to that level, you start going closer to the design. You need to define details, and this is a very important part. And for example, let me give you, tell you only an example. You see here that this was a render we did in the intermediate stage of the process. But from this pylon to this pylon, there is a big difference. With the details, with the understanding of your own proposals, you can improve a lot. This is the abutment. The abutment was a counterweight, and it was a big, huge element, and we needed to integrate that in our design. So it is very interesting to love the details, because the details are very important, and you can improve a lot your design. And of course, the details, the more formal details, like the use of the formwork, also the color, because it was a steel bridge, and a composite bridge, and you could paint, and for that reason you need to know a lot about everything. You need to know about how to use the color. You need to know many things. So this is one example. Another example, completely different, but very exciting also, is when you work with in buildings. Buildings are much more complicated because the constraints are very strong, and you have a lot of constraints. You don't have the knowledge, enough knowledge to understand other people who are collaborating with you. So you are obliged to reach that minimum level of knowledge in order to be able to discuss. This is a new effort you have to do. This was a competition. This time the competition was an extension of the Prado Museum in Madrid. The building you see here is a building which was built in the 17th century. And we needed to maintain part of that building and then to add some new elements. And each element has to be subjected to a process of conceptual design. This competition was won by Norman Foster and another local, Carlos Rubio, is an Spanish architect. He is very good also. And I want to say that it is more complicated, but you always need to create, and you have that opportunity. You need to convince the architects, you need to involve them, and you need to work with them. So 2 words. The top part of the new building is an exposition area, and they wanted to make a nice roof. And I immediately had the idea to show them this the roof of this building, which was designed by Torroja in 1930 something, and they accepted to go in this direction, not exactly doing this, but go in this direction. And after some sketches we did, they had a very proactive attitude, because they were trying to understand what we were saying, and they were trying to check and to develop some physical models. In Foster company, they do a lot of physical models, and they are, as you could see also here in this exposition, they use this very frequently, and it is very easy to make things together. But the key aspect is really to start working from the beginning. From the beginning, you need to start understanding the problem they have to solve and the evolution of their concepts from the beginning. We had the possibility to start working at the beginning during the competition, and then in the detailed design. And it is very interesting how we can work together. In some other cases, the situation is completely different. This is a Zaha Hadid Pavilion Bridge. Was the main entrance to the Expo 2008 in Zaragoza, Spain, and it was won by Zaha. And the definition of the geometry was this one. You can see the geometry was crazy, and all the geometry was already defined, and we needed to really find a solution to this problem. It's a completely different aspect, but again, even in this situation, which is not very good, because as I said, you need to be involved from the beginning. You need to find an idea. And we started working with this simple, let's say, sketches, because the first idea was, well, we will use the bottom part of the bridge to support the upper part of the bridge. But unfortunately, this was not possible. We started thinking that we could take advantage of the some ribs you can see on the top to have a top chord in tension and compression, and a bottom chord, which was the deck itself. But you see that, you see you have some windows here. So, and a grill in other parts of the bridge. So it was a very complex problem. I suffered a lot, but at the same time, even in these cases, which is not recommended, you need really to create a solution, and you need to imagine a good way to solve the problem. So not only at the level of the general behavior of the bridge, also all the details, we started studying the details with small sketches and simple sketches, and then we passed to the 2D, 3D, because all the notes were different, and finally the construction. So, and it is very interesting to know that the construction process of this bridge was very complicated, as you can imagine, but it is always a good opportunity to learn and to create things. Final example. This is another completely different example. I love this example. This is an sculpture. The artist wanted to see the panels flying in the air. But she was very kind, because she was integrated in the team to solve that problem. But I don't want to talk about the problem itself. I want to talk about another aspect. It is clear that always you have to have an idea. And I want to talk about which are the tools to do conceptual design. The tool is the brain, according to my opinion, because you have to have an idea. You can materialize that idea in simple sketches like this. You can make calculations, simple calculations, and you can make the first details. But at the same time, if you have young people, for that reason, I think we need to integrate our skills. He was very good, I can say you. But if you have people like this, you can make this incredible grasshopper model in a few hours, and then you can estimate better the forces. But don't be confused. You need an idea. We need really to create with our brain, with our knowledge, and then we can use different tools to refine our ideas. But the creativity is very important. So at the end of the day, I think, I don't know if we need a definition of conceptual design. We need to do that. We need to promote that we have to do that. But I think one possibility is this one: conceptual design is a creative process to find an idea to solve a given problem. I think in FIB, in Model Code 2010, we started to talk about this subject, conceptual design, and this is the flow chart we had, or we have in this document, and we were using this flow chart to think the 4 blocks we proposed for the symposium we had in Madrid. Inspirations are very important. You need to have a deep knowledge. You need to know the history of our structures and so on. Inspirations are very important. You need to gain experience. Second, data collection. It is very important to solve. In order to solve a problem, you need really to have a good definition of the problem. If not, you are not going to solve well the problem. Creativity, and finally, materialization. So I think we have this text in our code, Model Code 2010, and we are going to modify a little bit to add some sustainability. Akio is here from near to me, sustainability, because it's very important to take that into account. But if you read this longer definition, you will see that the ideas are more or less the same. So Finally, I don't want to finish my presentation without talk a little bit about our colleague, inspirator, George Zlaich, who passed away a few days ago. George was professor in Stuttgart University. He was teaching structural concrete. The way of we are using for all type of different technologies in concrete was his idea also or at least he was pushing the idea to use structural concrete, not as before, pre-stress, plain, and so many different names for concrete and steel. He did a lot of good research, always very close to practice, I have to say. And you probably all know these figures trying to explain strata and tie models, but not only. But he was a designer. He was a real designer. He started working in Leonhardt and Andra office. At that time, he designed together with a team this roof, this incredible roof in Munich. And here you have a picture I took from the website. You prepare for this conference. Here is George, and here is Leonhardt, and here is Fray Otto, and some other people. After this project, he left the Leonhardt and Andra office, and he founded his own office together with Bergerman. He was famous for his pedestrian bridges, and you can read the flow of forces. He was very good, and he was a fighter. And here you have a first in tension using cables under tension, and here using steel tubes under compression. But he worked in many other fields. He made a kind of revolution in roofs. As you can see, this is one example, but not the only one. In this case, he was working with Frank Gehry, and he was working also in solar energy. And this is a prototype he built in near Madrid. I remember one Sunday he was 10 years ago or a little bit more. He was in Manzanares. Manzanares was the city which was close to this tower, and he called me. I am here more than 1 week with the German television. I am not able to obtain a crane to make to film the interview, so please help me. So on Sunday I started to find a crane, and finally I went to see all was working well. And we celebrate the crane with a good glass of wine, because this area is an area in which of Spain where they produce very good wine. So he was very active in this area, and also he was a promoter of conceptual design. I remember I told this in Madrid. He was he organized this conference in 96. In 96, I remember that he wanted to ask important designers to explain the process of conceptual design. In the last days, I was revising the document, the proceeding, and unfortunately, only few followed this recommendation, because it is not easy to really explain what you do when you do conceptual design, many of them, like normally we do, explain their own projects, but he was a real inspirator of this process. And it was an inspiration for many generations, also for me. Thank you, George, really. Rest in peace. Finally, I would like to reinforce a few ideas. You always have the possibility to create. Don't waste this opportunity. You always have the possibility to enjoy creating, and this is very important. When you start creating, you will never stop. You need to start, really, and be ambitious, to have the energy to fight and to work hard, because working hard is a great condition when you want to do a good conceptual design. Be humble, to learn everything about everything, and do conceptual design. Because at the end of the day, we need to help, as we did all our history, the community. Thank you very much.